Hello and welcome to Sports by Compian. My name, of course, is Stephen Compian, joined here by my ever-present co-host who just graces us with his presence today. Today he looks so fucking cool and black that you can't even fully see the rest of his body. It's just a floating head of knowledge. Dan Gill in the house. How are you, Dan?
I'm doing great. I didn't think about the black shirt on a black background.
It looks awesome, Dan. If you should absolutely not change it, you're doing a great job. Anyway, the people of Sports by Compian, me, all of us, we're all very excited to get into yet another week of NFL football. This is a recording that will actually, make it out there to the people. We hope, not to jinx it or anything. And that is thanks to what you guys may be seeing right now, a new screen. And that's because, Dan, we have a real non-sponsor sponsor, StreamYard. They are now our official video recording service. You guys will see an episode coming up of Midwest Rugby. That is our actual first episode with this service, but this is the first one you guys will probably see ahead of that one because we have that one coming out later. Anyway, all that to say, Dan, amazing new service. Daniel Gill found it himself, just all around very exciting stuff. We probably will lose less episodes to the ether.
And we got fancy new features like this ticker.
Look at the ticker down there.
We can provide you scores.
That's current stuff, guys. All right. As we speak right now, the Jacksonville Jaguars are getting set to take on Cincinnati. But other than that, Dan, we have an excellent week of NFL scores to get to. You ready for this?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go.
Bam. All right. We started off on Thursday Night Football. Seahawks, Cowboys. Man, this thing was a barn burner. I didn't actually expect it to be this good or close. Seattle came to play, but Dallas is finding ways to win very close games right now, Daniel.
Yeah, I definitely I was expecting Dallas to dominate this game a lot more than they did. But Dallas found a way to win. Finally got their first win over a 500 team. But, DK Metcalf was a one-man wrecking crew with, 3 touchdowns and just, he did everything possible to try to win it for him. But, two teams that are contending for playoff spots in the wild card. So this was a big matchup late in the season. So who knows? We could see them run it back in the playoffs.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough road for Seattle right now. I guess not too tough. The NFC East looks like they're going to produce 2. The North might be hard to kind of get one from because they look like they're going to have 3 at one point, and the Packers seem to be all the way back. Anyway, we'll get to that in just a moment. We have a fascinating game to cover. Chargers, Patriots, 6-0 Chargers. Just as we all saw this one going right there.
Yeah, definitely a shocker for, all things considered. I thought they played really well against the Ravens the week before. So did not see this lack of offense being put out. I think on the New England side, we saw what we saw out of New England is what we expected, but, just they couldn't get it together on
tough game offensively all around. Rashad Stevenson goes down early in this game with an injury. I hope he's okay. But can we talk about Austin Eckler, Dan? What is going on with this guy? Dude's been injured most of the season, comes back, and he just does not look like himself. Is it the way they're using him, or is it him? What is going on with Austin Eckler, dude? The guy is not even close to the back he was last year.
It could be a little bit of both, but yeah, he had 14 carries for 18 yards. That's just not what you want to see out of him.
No, his catches aren't even super dynamic or anything. He's getting catches sometimes from minus yards. It's rough.
Yeah, so hopefully this is kind of a wake up call for the Chargers.
Yeah,
they're barely holding on at 5-7 for any shred of hope.
Right.
And it's not going to get any easier for them. Because they have the Broncos twice, and the Broncos are not what they thought they were going to be over the last week. And then they have the Bills and Chiefs along with the Raiders. So really, 4 of those last 5 can get really rough.
Absolutely. As for the Patriots, I don't know, man. I think my era may not move on from Bill Belichick. We have no idea. I think loyal Patriots fans don't want it. Maybe they do. Who knows, man? Either way, you guys have won enough championships. No one feels too bad for you. Moving on to Detroit Lions and the Saints. I actually went back and watched the short form version of this game, 40 minutes condensed on YouTube Live. I mean, on YouTube TV. Shout out YouTube TV. It's honestly one of my favorite ways I've ever watched a game. But anyway, pretty interesting game. You know, the Lions hop out with 21-0 like 5 minutes into the game. And then they just absolutely took their foot off the pedal from there. The Saints defense really kept the Saints in this, man. There was so many times where they would just go 3 and out, couldn't get anything going on offense, but their defense just showed up to play this game. You know, Goff did get them a couple times. Laporta has a huge game. But overall, Saints battled in this game, stuck in there. Was a lot closer than it should have been, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think the trend out of all of us this year about the Saints has been they have the defense to keep them in most games. It's whether their offense or not can keep up with whatever offense they're facing. We've seen the Lions come down to reality a little bit. I really think that since that Ravens game that they lost like 35-6.
Yeah.
We really haven't seen the same Lions team. I think they're still a team to watch out for in the playoffs and down the stretch here. They're winning their games, but the Saints, their defense is their defense. They've been known for that for the last 10 years, and they just find a way to make that offense work.
Yeah. No, agreed. We'll see if they hang on with Derek Carr, what they're going to do. But I think my boy James Winston's on the field. No, I don't think he did. But anyway, Falcons hang on for an ugly one against the Jets. Yet another game. There was just so many ugly games this week. You know, I feel like defense is just absolutely dominating this year. So, you know, if that's a good thing if you like defense and play football for sure. Well, yeah, so interesting game this week. But yeah, Falcons managed to hang on to a win, stay there in first place. They got the Bucks this coming week for NFC South supremacy. But yeah, the Jets are looking like a mess.
Jets are a mess, but I was honestly shocked by the score of this game. I picked the Falcons to win, but I was expecting with how bad the Jets have looked, and the Falcons haven't looked half bad this year, so I expected them to be in a lot more control of the game. I know there was weather moving through the Northeast over the weekend. Doesn't make it ideal conditions if you're a passing team, but still, that might have aided into the New England fiasco. But I just expected them to be, out in front early and just kind of stay there. But at the end of the first quarter, it was 2-0 Jets. So, I was just kind of confused on that one. But you guys with Tampa you guys got to match each other, and then you got to make the most of the game next week. And that's the best you can hope for at this point.
Yeah, we'll get to the exciting Tampa Bay Buccaneers in just a moment. This game was a bummer. It was a chance for the Steelers to start really gaining some ground on the bet. I actually need them to win 10 games now, so I'm pretty nervous at the service. But yeah, they seem to drop the ball at home to the Cardinals. It's rainy, but come on, man. What were you doing? What happened here?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely didn't see this coming. I confidently said last week on Pick'ems that I felt that the Steelers could probably get those 2 wins over the next 2 weeks facing the Cardinals and the Patriots. Boy, did I eat my words. I know they had a ungodly long delay because of the storm that passed through Pittsburgh. But truthfully, I don't know how much that was going to hurt them or help them because
the Cardinals sat through the same delay.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it didn't really hurt their offense because I think it was, 10-3 or 17-3 by the time that storm rolled through.
Yeah.
And we've said this before. Look, Kyler Murray is a good quarterback. He's back there. He's going to make things happen. I get that we kind of like it's almost like two parts of a season, like with and without Kyler Murray. And, it's not the same, 2-win Cardinal team that he walked into when he returned. So I think, we might have underestimated that. I know we still feel like he's still getting his feet back under him. Are they doing the right play calls to make him effective? But at the end of the day, like, he's one of the more better quarterbacks in the league. I'm not saying he's top tier by any means, but, if you put him against Pickett, in theory, you should be taking Kyler Murray.
Looks like it. Well, moving on to another tight game that maybe wasn't when a lot of people anticipated it to be this tight was the Colts and Titans. Will Levis finally has a pretty good bounce back game. If you're a Titans fan, you got to be encouraged by that. But Colts find a way. They finally hit Alex Pecora, the dude from the first round pick from last year. Finally reemerges. He had been pretty much disappeared for most of the year. Maybe he was injured. But either way, back into the lineup, big touchdown to start off the Colts, and they hang on to win against a scrappy Titans team. DeAndre Hopkins went off this game.
Yeah, I think things are finally starting to click in Tennessee, but it might be a little too late for them at this point in the year. Unfortunately, Indy, Indy's trying to hold on to that last playoff spot. And then quite honestly, they're trying to stay in contention. They have a spot to still win the division. They're 7-5, division leaders 8-3. So, it's still very plausible that they could win this division.
Well, good for them. They've really kind of just making it happen with a backup quarterback. All that controversy about Jonathan Taylor to start the year, you lose Shaquille Leonard, and they're just out here winning games, man.
And, I mean, the thing is, typically, when Gardner has had the chances to play, we saw it in Jacksonville. He really puts up good numbers.
He's not bad.
He's not bad. Like, he's definitely one of the better backups that we do have in the league right now. So he's going to keep him in it. But like you said, Tennessee should feel good about what Will Levis did. He's definitely starting to kind of settle in, make the offense his own, especially if you have Derrick Henry and Hopkins in there. That's definitely two key pieces that he can lean on.
Absolutely. Well, moving on to the Colts taking on the Commanders. This game was over very quickly whenever Tyreek Hill just ran away from both of the Commanders' defenders who were like, "Hey, stop it!" And he was like, "I'm a cheetah," and then he was just gone. But some people are talking about how if you were going to, I think if you were doing it on non-quarterback MVP, it would probably have to be Tyreek Hill by a mile. I mean, there's a couple of defenders like T.J. Watt's having a big year, Myles Garrett's having a big year, but it seems like Tyreek Hill is literally running away from the non-quarterback competition, Dan. And these Dolphins are pretty much mauling anybody who's doesn't have a winning record. Stop, get out of here. We're going to destroy you.
Yeah, I mean they're definitely clicking there. It's the first time since 2001 that they're 9-3, so definitely cool to see that. But I mean, we really saw them forming well last year. And they've just gotten progressively better. I saw in an interview with Tyreek Hill that he feels that like this team might be better than some of the Chiefs teams he used to be on. Which that's
even the one that he won the Super Bowl with, he said they're better than that team. So that's interesting.
I mean, that's a lot of pressure to put on your team.
It is a lot of pressure. I mean, they are loaded with talent. They just seem to drop the ball in big games. So
now, did you see the story about the guy that when he did that backflip, when he took the phone?
Yeah, I heard about this whole thing. Yeah, Reddit's very upset about it. They're sending out petitions.
Yeah, I got offended by NFL, but Tyreek Hill's covering his salary, so that's pretty cool. We talked about the hypocrisy in the NFL where
it's so stupid.
Jared Allen got fined for taunting, but yet the NFL used it for one of their own ads.
Yeah.
I mean, the second it happened, it was like, I can't wait to see the first time they used that Tyreek Hill clip.
It's just a non-fun league doing non-fun stuff.
They
Anyway,
want people to watch it, and then they get mad when
right.
people do things.
We're also a
Gotta
role
make 'em
model
laugh.
for the kids, man. We can't have see the kids see them celebrating, man. That's not allowed. Anyway, Sam Howell, tough day for him at the office, but hangs on and had a nice rushing touchdown late in the game. I think the Commanders really got something there with him. They need to surround him with some more talent. Scary Terry's been super quiet over the last 4 weeks, but maybe it's because he's getting heavily covered. Because I guess there's a couple other options at receiver, but they just need a whole team revamp almost. It seems like the Commanders, but that's been their problem for a couple.
Yeah,
years.
I mean they're going to need a healthy draft, and then maybe even a couple key signings. But I've been a big proponent of the Bieniemy signing. I'm curious they're going to bring in a different head coach or maybe promote him. But
maybe it's the enemy. That would make sense.
I would love to see that. But if if they don't go with him, I don't see how whatever head coach moves on from him, because he's got a good resume.
Absolutely. No, agreed. Texans beat the Broncos. This was a tight game, man. It was close the whole way. I did take the Broncos for this just because they've also been hot. But one of these two hot teams had to lose, and it ended up being the Broncos. Russell Wilson just a little uncomfortable, man. The Texans really got to him. Dude, Will Anderson is a baller. Oh, my God, that guy's good. He's just all over the field for the defense of the Texans. What's his name? Stingley or something like that. Their corner had 2 interceptions. One of them just a beautiful bait. Just saw it all the way and took it right from Cortland Sutton. Great game out of him. Great game out of the Texans defense in general.
Yeah, well, and with the Steelers game being delayed for as long as it was, they actually put on, in my market at least, they put on the Denver-Houston game. So I got to watch that one for a bit, and I was watching that final drive. And I mean, the Broncos were putting on a phenomenal drive down the field, and I kind of thought they were going to pull it out at one point. There was like a giant miscommunication on their end that it took them 33 seconds to run a play.
Yeah.
So when they snapped the ball, it was 35 seconds left in the game. Like, that's way too much time to let run off the clock. And Russell Wilson ends up throwing the interception in the back of the end zone to seal their fate. But I mean, Denver's looking good. I mean, so is Houston. Not taking anything away from Houston. I picked Houston for this game myself. Yeah. But I think it's going to be interesting to see these two teams the next couple of years. If Russell stays there for a little bit.
Russell did just turn
obviously
35, though.
He still might have a couple of years on him to cash out.
Yeah. I mean, they signed him to a long contract, so.
And Houston's just this young, gritty team that, I mean, they got a good mentality down there.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I think D'Amico Ryan's got them going in the right, direction. Speaking of a head coach who maybe doesn't have a team going in the right direction, Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the Panthers. Now, you would think as a Bucs fan I'd be more excited about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning, but as you can see, and we nibbled out the worst team in the NFL by 3 points. This was tough to watch. So, first of all, we were down to our third, both Devin White and Lamonte David both out with this game. So we're down to Dennis something or another. Either way, dude was sick. He was out. So now we're down to Kenny Britt and J.J. Russell, who I believe was a 7th round draft pick a couple years ago. A couple minutes into the game, K.J. Britt goes down. So now we're literally down to just J.J. Russell at linebacker. We bring up Evan Neal to play some fucking linebacker for us. He filled in where he could then, but he is not a linebacker. So I think the Panthers were able to take advantage of that. Chuba Hubbard had a pretty good day on the ground. Miles Sanders continues to be absolute trash. Like I picked him for get over 28 yards, and the dude couldn't do it. Oh my God, Miles. But anyway, the Panthers were able to move the ball on the ground. Looked pretty bad passing it. He just looks uncomfortable, Mr. Bryce Young. But the commentators are pointing out some good stuff. He's just not getting much help from the route concepts. everything seems to be deep, or these deep posts or outs, and everything's like 10 yards deep. He's not getting much help, it doesn't seem like. Either way, Buccaneers defense, despite being down the linebacker, I think they were a pretty solid unit throughout this game. Good pressure on Bryce Young throughout the day. Bucs offense, other than Mike Evans getting to his 10th 1,000-yard season in a row, continues to add to the legend. He now is one season behind Jerry Rice for the most 1,000-yard seasons ever. Dude's just an absolute stud, legend of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Couldn't be more proud of the guy. It was awesome to see him get this record, and hopefully he'll continue to build on it. But either way, great game out of him. The rest of the offense, besides like Rashad White a couple times, looked pretty bad.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with Carolina down the stretch and even this offseason. I read that apparently back in week 5, a lot of people on the team were pushing for Bryce Young to get benched and let Andy Dalton start to try to be a little more competitive, get in more practices and reps in practice, I guess. But Frank Wright was adamant that he's going to learn more through games, which I kind of get the philosophy on that. But at the same time, it's that weird balance of if we think we're going to win games with Andy Dalton, is it better to go that route versus let's get him valuable playing time? I don't know.
Good point. If they would have had Andy Dalton, there's a very good chance they might have won this game.
Yeah, and so I don't know if that was a part of his downfall. Another funny thing that I read about our favorite owner, David Tepper, he apparently walked into a meeting one time and went up to the offensive coordinator and threw a play down on the table and said, I saw the Cleveland run this play. I want us to run it on Sunday. The dude's literally basically drawing plays off of Madden and telling his coaches to run it. At that point, dude, just put the headset on and be the head coach if you want to be calling plays. If not, there's a reason you hired these guys. You're not the one play calling. But if that's the funny part is he also owns the MLS team in Charlotte that plays at the Panthers Stadium. Apparently, they've had 2 head coaches in 18 months. So it's it's not just a Panthers problem. It's any entity he owns, it seems, has this coaching issue. And at that point, it's dude, it's got to be you.
Oh, Tupper. I hope your millions of dollars can cover you. Anyway, Rams win a game against the Browns. Now, there was a couple moments here where Bigfoot Joe Flacco himself, the elite quarterback, had the Browns looking like they might be able to win this game or at least come close. But eventually, Rams do Rams stuff. Matthew Stafford's looking pretty good this year, when he's been playing. And I guess it gets the W for the Rams. What do you have to say about all this, Dan?
Yeah, I'm going to cause a storm say Joe Flacco's not elite.
What?
Yeah.
How dare you?
Sorry that he didn't throw an interception for 3 games, and that seems to be impressive, It's called protecting the ball. I get that I got to watch probably one of the greatest quarterbacks to do that, and Aaron Rodgers do it all the time. But, yeah. The Ravens defense and Anquan Bolden won in that Super Bowl, not Joe Flacco. Anyway, I was sorry. I was just surprised that it took Joe Flacco this long there to get picked up by a team because I figured he would have been carried as a backup at some point. So glad to see that he's back there. The Rams, ever since Stafford came back, they've been kind of gelling week in and week out. Kyron Williams is just putting up phenomenal numbers.
Dude, Kyron Williams, where did this kid come from? He's going wild.
I know he didn't break 100 this week on rushing yards, but still, he's been putting in some good work when he's in. So I think that they're a team that could creep up and kind of cause some issues in the playoffs for teams jostling for those last spots. Right now they're one spot out. Green Bay's holding that last spot, but It's getting real tight at the bottom of that playoff bracket.
Oh, yeah, it is, Dan. Speaking of the top of the bracket, though, we got the Eagles hosted the 49ers. A lot of people, including yours truly, who picked the Eagles to win this. Thought this game was going to be closer, man, but the 49ers just came out swinging. Eagles are not ready. They fall 42-19 at home to the 49ers. Are the 49ers the best team in the NFC?
They definitely made a case for it. I will say that. And I'm curious to see if
they're beating the
teams meet up
big
again.
boys. You know, they've dropped a couple of games. So they've dropped a game against what was it? The Browns, the Vikings, who else?
And the Bengals.
So those are three like kind of obscure teams. You know what I mean? Like middle of the pack teams. So like, I don't know if you can even take those losses that seriously because they did have McCaffrey for some of those.
Yeah, like you have to look at some of those losses. Like they were so injury ridden that like it's not the same team on the field. And I'm not making excuses for them, but it's just
it's true.
A fact. Yeah, they've had some very solid wins. You know, over the Cowboys, now the Eagles. Seahawks, they're a playoff contending team. They took care of the Jaguars, who were leading the AFC South at 8-3.
I think they beat the Rams already too, right?
Yeah, they beat the Rams too. So they've definitely, had some good things. They're going to have some interesting games coming up. They do play the Ravens. That Ravens defense, I'm curious where they're going to go. They do have the Rams, and then they end the season against the Rams again. And they have the Seahawks again one more time. So, like I said, they've definitely made their case. I'm not going to say that they necessarily leapfrogged anybody, but, don't be surprised if they run it out. I know the Eagles, they have a slightly easier run at the end. Their next 2 weeks, I think, are the hardest 2 weeks for them, facing the Cowboys and then the Seahawks, and then they have the Giants twice and the Cardinals. So, I think they sweep the Giants. I think they take the Cardinals down. But at least the 49ers put themselves in that spot for the number 1 seed. It's funny. My buddy Andrew, who he goes to a lot of the Eagles games because his girlfriend has season tickets, her family does. I texted him in the morning. I was like, I took the 49ers. What do you think? And I got roasted in our chat for picking against the Eagles. And they're like, how can you pick against the Eagles, blah, 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 going on. And he just texted me this morning and goes, well, you picked right.
Right. Poor bastard. That sucks. That was a huge letdown for Eagles fans. But fair enough. I think it'll be okay.
This guy's not falling.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fine. It was the 49ers who came in and kicked your ass. I think it's going to be all right. Anyway, let's move on to another team who maybe a lot of people didn't see this coming, Dan, but me and Taylor did on the Lost Pick'em, which some people may or may not have been paying attention to. Packers pull off an upset against the Chiefs. Chiefs kind of brought this back. It was looking even worse there for a little while. Packers kind of let up the gas a little bit, but yeah, our own Taylor Sykes was at the game and got to enjoy the suffering of Cedric in person, which must have been just absolutely splendid. Shout out Cedric, friend of the show. Shout out Taylor Sykes, friend of the show.
I believe that was Cedric's first NFL game too.
Oh, you love to hear it, Dad. You love to hear it. You love to hear it. His first NFL experience, and he gets to see a huge upset by the Packers team.
Yeah, I love it. This is a statement win for Green Bay.
Dude, they were on fire.
Yeah, and well, here's the thing. I think they said since 2019, they're 15-0 in the month of December.
That's crazy.
Wild. But anyway, we've been seeing them get progressively better each week. I've been saying week in and week out, they have the defense, much like the Saints. They have that defense that can keep them in almost any game. So whether or not their offense can go, and I was pushing for this at the beginning of the year. You keep the playbook simple for Jordan Love. You don't have Aaron Rodgers back there anymore. I'm not saying you can't get creative from time to time, but the things that you got creative with Aaron Rodgers, let's be honest, you're not doing with Jordan Love yet. I'm not saying you won't do it at all. It's just right now, keep it simple. Do these throw in a shock play or two. But I think everybody's starting to progress well. They're finding an offense that works well for him, for Dubs, for Watson. They got a lot of young guys. There's a lot of guys to learn. And I think they're doing a good job of capitalizing on that and kind of slowly growing that playbook each week. And they're going to have a tough battle going through. I don't think they have an easy road to the playoffs.
Right.
I would like to think we can handle the next couple weeks. We'll kind of breeze over the 1 week real fast for you, but we have the Giants, we have Tampa, and we have the Panthers over the next 3 weeks. I would like to say that we can probably take care of that. And then we end with back-to-back divisional games at Minnesota and at home against the Bears. The Vikings aren't same team without Kirk Cousins, but they're still being very effective. They still have that great defense. They do have their offensive weapons, so they can definitely make things happen. But I think if they can take care of the next 3 weeks, they're going to prime themselves for a very good spot to nab a playoff spot.
Sounds like it. Typical Packers, man. God forbid you guys ever have a bad season. Well, anyway.
And we've had some.
Okay. Like what? 1 or 2? Must be tragic.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Sports by Compian. Hope you guys have enjoyed. We do like to do this show. Please like and subscribe our content. As you can see, we are coming up in the world with yet newer and finer and better streaming services. So continue to support the boys. Dan, do you have any final words for these 5 people?
Yeah, I think I might have said this on the Lost episode, but we'll be in Green Bay on December 17th.
Us.
2 of us.
In person.
And our friend Will.
Our Will also be there.
In person. But
right.
If you see us, come say hi. We're going to advertise the show on the way up. And
if I'm quiet and angry, it's not you. It's the Buccaneers. It sounds like it's going to be a rough game. It sounds like it's going to be a really rough game.
We may or may not be at each other. We might have to put Will in between us to keep us separated.
I will have to say they did, Dad. It won't be his fault that his team was destroyed. It's just, it's looking like it's going to be a rough one.
Yeah, so, and hey, check out all of our new shorts. There's some great content in there.
All these shorts coming your guys' way. You'll see them just popping out. Go back, watch them, and when you see them, you see how awesome they are, go back and watch that main episode if you haven't seen it already. And be like, oh my God, this episode, here this whole time. I didn't even know it until the short told me. It's beautiful, Dan. It's a beautiful thing. Anyway, Sports by Compian. Out.